Good morning, traders. Paul here with GammaEdge. Today is Friday, the 21st of April. Let's get started. Pause your players here. Read to the very bottom. If you agree, hit that play button. Model for today, we're whipsawing back and forth. As many of you are aware, we have whipsawed to a new short-term downtrend. This is applicable to the 0DTE folks as well as folks who are looking to get into swing trades. The CT, the cumulative tick, closed below the previous day. This is a whipsaw down. Just be aware of that. Something we call the railroad track pattern. You'll see that here shortly. It remains in an uptrend, but if the CT does not rally today, again, whipsawing, it will turn off, and that too will be a downtrend. So watch for these reversals, these whipsaws. Get small. Don't get out over your toes, over the tips of your skis, and just make sure that you're really watching your risk management. Longer term, the ribbon, and you'll see that here again in a minute, is inverted. It's on the bearish side. We still are long in the ARCX, which is the New York Stock Exchange, the ticks from the NASDAQ and the ticks from the AMEX. We consider this the quality tick. It is in a longer term bullish, but it's under pressure. The USC, the tick Q, and the RLC are all either not participating or are down. And yesterday was a fairly strong day down for those. The S&P 500 CT is above its ribbon, which means that it's bullish. It could see some pressure, though, maybe a little too late. So some of these things stall out, and that could be what we're witnessing. We do watch market breadth. Market breadth, as viewed by the 52-week new high, new low, had the 52-week new lows still outpacing the new highs. I think we're 5 for 5 over the last 5 days, 194 down, 141 up. When we don't get the breadth, you've got to be cautious. Taking a look at the crystal ball into next week, transition drops to a very, very narrow range below us, 4110, 4115. A dropping transition is bearish. We're witnessing in real time the transition of the markets, and we detail this pretty extensively in the Discord and voice, as well as our pre-market notes. Would urge everyone to make sure you study those and you understand why we're watching this in real time. A lot of 0DTE folks pay attention to that 4160 upside level for today. The settled delta node, or PM settled delta node, exists at 4155. It's going to make it challenging to move above this up towards that 4160. But these areas are soft, plus or minus one strike. So just be aware of that. Watch the targeting of strikes higher than 4155 using the Discord command value SPXP. 4130, 4135 is today's combo transition. This is the mothership, right? Over 18 million contracts. A close below this would signal further downside. So really, this is the line in the sand for today. Next week, though, as I said, 4110, 4115. So we do have a drop of the complex into next week, even though today is higher. Again, this transition between today and next week is a bearish indication. 4100 remains the downside sensitive strike. A loss of 4125 intraday probably suggests a test of 4100. We think 4100 will hold. And for the 0DT folks, you could probably go long off of that. Watch for maybe a sweep under that at 4095 if we do test that. We think, reclaiming 4100 from below, testing it from above, and could be an opportunity to take off. We do think, because there are some puts that are coming off today, that there is fuel to go to the north, but be aware it's a battle. Closing below 4125 today would be bearish overall for the reasons that we talked about. Taking a look at the market model, as I said, this is not predictive. We don't know if it's going to go up, if it's going to go down, or go sideways. What we do know is that it's down from where it was yesterday. This is a whipsaw indication. The railroad track pattern, if this remains below it, that the CT remains below these short-term moving averages, that pattern will turn off. And if you doubt the efficacy of the railroad track pattern, just look if you could catch these trends. They can last multi-day. They can last up to 12 days in length, and that could be one heck of a run. We're not there, and you're not going to get it out of this type of behavior. So just be aware. It's worth watching. We back-tested this extensively, and it works really well. This is the ribbon. This is a long-term series of moving averages of the cumulative tick. Still trending up, still bullish, but we're getting closer and closer and closer to this. What we would like to see is a reversal and another phase up. We don't think it's going to be very strong if that occurs. We actually think we're favoring more to the downside. Taking a look at Gamma on the S&P E-minis, no change. No change from yesterday. So the structure of the futures options on the futures contracts have not changed at all in 2 days. Everything is static. Just ponder that. Taking a look at different stocks and ETFs that we're looking at, pause your players here, look through these. Not advocating that you jump aggressively into any of these because these are contra trend entries, excuse me. This Lilly could potentially move over into this bucket because it's already starting to push up towards that P-trans level. Kroger, KR here, it's got a tight risk reward. You might be able to get something out of that. We are watching Micron, TTD looks really strong, and SDDG looks really strong. So just take a look at those. Individual names can rally in the short term, and that's why we post this. Taking a look at Gamma on the PM complex, significantly weaker. Still positive, call dominated, but significantly weaker. It's about ready to give up the ghost. We've got weaker deltas above us. We've got stronger OTM put deltas below us. You can now start to see the OTM presence coming through with the negative deltas here. This is growing. This is a significant change relative to yesterday. We've had a couple changes. Minus GEX has moved up closer to spot. That usually is positioning for a short-term drop. Be aware of that. We also had this 4,200, now more or less sitting exactly coincident with 4,200. COI, which is the call open interest, was up here at 43. It has dropped down here as these people throw in the towel, and folks think that if we do rally, this has a better chance of having profitability. We have a market. We can go either direction. We don't know which direction we're going to go, but we can pretty well estimate the probabilities or where the sensitive strikes are, and would urge everyone to pay attention to what you see here. Taking a look at the 0 DTEs, call open interest sitting over here at 4,200. 4,160 really is the upside sensitive strike for today. 4,100 to the downside. As I indicated earlier, we have this node at 4155, and you can see that there is a double pocket right here in the 0 DTE. We would not be surprised at a push upward into this area and then a stall, right? So we have in the money puts here that are vaporizing when these puts come off. If folks do choose to monetize them, there's no obligation to do so, except most likely down around where you're at the money. That will potentially push us upward. So we do see a scenario in the if-thens where we could run a little bit north. We don't think it's going to be much over 4155, 4160 at best. To the downside, 4100 remains pretty much the line in the sand for today. Very little contribution, and things start to get really sticky down below this. We don't think we're going to push below 40.95 or so if we do test the 4100. Maybe get some sweeps out of here to do some stop checks, and then most likely we'll come back up. If we do close below the 4125 though, that will set up the picture for this. 4125 and into next week, the 4110, 4100 structure is decisively bearish. And what's happening, this is looking at Monday now, right? The Monday 1 DTE. You can see that it's amazingly flat for Monday based on where we are right now. Now, this will change because of 0 DTE action today, but nevertheless, the market structure across the weekend, if today were a holiday, would be neutral, neutral, neutral. You can't get more neutral in the overall gamma exposure. Delta exposure is pretty low also, right? So we're more or less, even though this is indicated as a negative delta level, 3 million, that's nothing in the SPX. So just be aware, we are setting up to be in these low pressure zones. This is why we track transition. This is why we track where out of the money and in the money occurs. And you can see for Monday, we've got a significant amount of in the money calls that are vaporizing, and we have a significant amount of out of the money puts, the red, that are also coming off. So when you look at this structure, we're in this transition phase for next week. Just be aware, Monday could be a little volatile. Taking a look at the crystal ball of next week, so all 5 days of next week turned on. This 4155, 4160 level remains a difficult level. Overhead, we are still out of the money call dominated, but the values of these deltas is extremely low. These things could easily flip. And remember, this is where the in-the-money puts are sitting. In-the-money puts have a higher delta, and they could flip this very easily if these out-of-the-money call speculators give up any hope of moving up here. So we are watching the node here. We are watching what's happening down here. You can see, and I would urge everyone to go back to yesterday, the out-of-the-money put speculators are now starting to dominate the conversation below us, right? So this is important because this is our foundation. And the foundation is clearly shifting from a call-dominated in-the-money structure to an out-of-the-money put structure, and that is bearish. There's no other way to interpret that, folks. Taking a look at the combo complex, we are still out of the money call dominated above us, but significantly weaker. This number here is 60% lower than where we were yesterday, right? And I've removed today. So this is basically looking at the complex. Remember, we have AM settled today, and I didn't want to skew the data with what vaporizes at the open. So I've turned off today, and I've said, what does the rest of the complex look like? Even with this in there, which adds obviously a little bit, this is an extremely low number. This is indicative of calls being closed and long puts being opened, period. There's no other way to interpret that. When we have this here, we still have a dominance of out-of-the-money calls. When we start seeing these little cracks in the ice, this is where the in-the-money calls are now starting to get targeted by out-of-the-money puts. Why do we stress this moneyness thing? That is the speculation that drives the markets. And when you see the speculation now start to shift, and we're witnessing this full time right now, right? In real time. When you see the speculation start to shift, you need to shift. Because if you are continuing to add to long deltas, they're eroding. And so the chances, the probability of moving up are not as good. We have the tools, obviously, to visualize this stuff, and would urge everyone to study how we're witnessing this transition in the overall markets. Last but not least, not a lot to say here. Plus GEX has moved back up to 4,200, minus GEX down to 3,800. That's where it's been for a while. The transition, super duper clean. 41.35 sitting right here, 41.30, right? So that is today's line in the sand. A close below 41.30 today continues to embolden the bears. Just remember that. A close above 41.35 may maintain some sense of upside hope, but hope is not a strategy. So with that, we will bid you farewell. Have a great weekend. If you're interested in this, if you have any comments, if you want to learn more, come to GammaEdge.us, upper right-hand corner, pricing tab. Click on it, fill out the blanks, come on in, 14-day free trial, all the tools turned on. Follow us on Twitter, please. We do post. And here on YouTube, of course. If you like today's content, let me know. Smash that like button. Thumbs up lets me know that I'm providing relevant, actionable content for you. And of course, subscribe, because Taylor and I work really hard to provide videos of what we're seeing and making sure that you understand the tools and how we're positioning for the overall market. So again, we'll leave it at that. Have a great weekend. Have a great Friday. Hope to see you in the Discord. And remember, we have an open mic Sunday night, and would urge everyone to come in and participate in that. Take care.